Hey guys, let this get all right. So this is Tuesday's ELA video notes. Now today we're going to be working on author's point of view. Now when we talk about author's point of view, we're not necessarily talking about first, second, or third, okay? That's just point of view. What we're talking about here is we're talking about how does he feel about the certain thing that he's talking about, the point of view. So what we're going to do right now, or what you're going to do, is we need to go back and reread A View from the Earth from the beginning through, and we'll never know. So we're going to reread pages 51 through 55. Now, as we read, I'm going to read those pages to you, or you can go back and listen if you don't want to hear me. As we read, we are going to find two sentences or passages that show the author's point of view about your assigned topic and copy the passages. You do not. Okay, so once we do that, we're going to underline whether the passage shows a positive, negative, or neutral feeling about the topic. And C, we're going to explain how it shows the author's point of view. We have two examples below. After completing the activity page, compare your answers to your assigned partners. Now here's the deal. You do not have an assigned partner, but that doesn't, or that shouldn't stop you from sharing it with a parent, a sibling, or whomever you would like to. So before we get into it, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the two examples. Okay, example number 1. The topic is a view of Earth from space. That's the topic. And you will not know the topic until you pick out your quote from the passage, okay? So here's passage A. Okay, so we are going to do this. The first was the view out the window of John Glenn's spaceship. The view of the Earth and how beautiful it was on the big screen. I wanted to see that view. So in that passage right there, you can see that this whole thing is about the topic, is about the view from a view of Earth from space, from John Glenn's spaceship. Now, is this passage or excerpt from the passage, is it a positive, negative, or neutral point of view? Now, positive would be something that we all know what positive is. It's something that's hopeful, bright, cheery. Negative is something that is not hopeful. It's something that is not happy. Neutral is kind of like a lot of people say, I'm Switzerland. That means they're neutral. It doesn't have a positive or negative point of view. It's kind of giving a point of view that is allowing people to see both sides of the story. So in this case, this passage was a positive viewpoint from the author. And explain how we know that. Well, the author's description of the view as beautiful and his expressions of a strong desire to see Earth from space shows his positive point of view. Also, the view rekindles the author's childhood dream of becoming an astronaut. So what they did right here, let me get a pen. Okay. So what we did, sorry, had to get the ball off the pen. Okay, so what they did down here is they took the author's description right here and they looked. It says right here how beautiful it was on the big screen. And right here it says, I want to see that view. And even though this right here about the rekindling wasn't in this passage, the author used the reading knowledge that they did when they read this and attached it to this. They went back and used prior knowledge. Okay, example number 2 says 13 years after that, it's May 17, 2009, and I'm on the space shuttle Atlantis, about to go out to do a spacewalk on the Hubble Space Telescope. And our task that day was to repair an instrument that had failed. Now this whole little excerpt, the topic itself is repairing an instrument. That's the topic. So basically you'll find the passage first and then you can write your topic down. You have to find the passage before you can have your topic. Okay? Now, this passage point of view, as you read it, think to yourself, is it a positive, a negative? But you can see it's neutral because the author, Michael, is not giving you a positive or a negative viewpoint. He's just saying, look, this is what we're going to have to do. Okay, this is what we have to do. In this passage, the author states the time and place and mission, but does not state an opinion about whether the mission will succeed. So when you have a positive and negative viewpoint, you're given an opinion. And we all have opinions. You can have something that's a positive opinion, which would be known as optimistic, or you have a negative point of view, which would be pessimistic. So, like I said, first we're going to look at the passage, then you get your topic, then tell me whether it's positive, negative, or neutral, and then in the passage, the author states, you're going to tell me, explain that. So here's what your work is going to look like. Okay? So you're going to do 2 of these right here. So, let me get my paper. So not everybody's going to have the same topic, or you're not going to pick the same thing because we're not all the same. One person may choose one thing and the other shows something different. Now, you're going to read the passage. You're going to read pages 51 through 55. Choose, and I know you don't have the passage in front of you, but you can pause your computer and you're going to write the excerpt that you choose. It can be 1 to 2 sentences. Okay, but it has to show something, a point of view. You have to tell me whether the passage is positive, negative, or neutral, and explain that. Now, once you have that, you're going to do another one. Okay, the passage, positive, negative, and right here. Seems to be we can do this all on one topic. Let me read the directions again real quick. Yes, on the assigned topic. So as we read it again, just to help you out, I may give you a topic, or if you want to, you can do your own thing. So that's the first part. You're going to have 2 little excerpts that you have to look at, tell me whether it's positive, negative, or neutral, and then explain that point of view. Now here's the deal. I know that you're at home, and I know you're by yourself. Okay? If your partner selected a different passage from you, copy. Okay, we can't do that. And I understand that. So you technically do not have to do this. Okay? You do not have to do this. So you can actually just put no partner. And I'll understand what that means. Okay? So we'll do that. So that is what we're going to do. And now I'm going to get the book, and we're going to read pages 51 through 55. And if I can find it. All right. Here we go. Okay, view from Earth, right here. In 1984, I was a senior in college, and I went to see the movie The Right Stuff. And a couple of things really stuck me. I'm sorry. Let me start all over. In 1984, I was a senior in college and went to see the movie The Right Stuff. And a couple of things really struck me in the movie. The first was the view of the window of John Glenn's spaceship. The view of the Earth, how beautiful it was on the big screen. I wanted to see that view. And secondly, the camaraderie between the original 7 astronauts depicted in the movie. How they were good friends, how they stuck up for each other, and how they would never let each other down. I wanted to be part of an organization like that. and it rekindled a boyhood dream that had gone dormant over the years. That dream was to grow up and to be an astronaut. And I just could not ignore this dream. I had to pursue it. So I decided I wanted to go to graduate school. Now, graduate school, let me explain that real quick. Graduate school is a level of education that happens after you go to your first 4 years of college. So you have what's called undergrad, which is your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year of college. And then after that, you go to graduate school. You don't have to go to graduate school. Okay. And I was lucky enough to get into MIT. MIT is a very prestigious technology school. It's called the Massachusetts Institution of Technology. While I was at MIT, I started applying to NASA and to become an astronaut. I filled out my application and received a letter that said they weren't quite interested. So I waited a couple of years and I sent in another application. They sent me back a pretty much the same letter. So I applied a third time. And this time I got an interview. So they got to know who I was, and then they told me no. So I applied a fourth time. And on April 22nd, 1996, I knew the call was coming, good or bad. I picked up the phone, and it was Dave, oh my word, Listamata, the head of the flight crew operations at Johnson Space Center in Houston. He said, "Hey, Mike, this is Dave. How are you doing this morning?" And I said, "I really don't know, Dave. You're going to have to tell me." He said, "Well, I think you're going to be pretty good after this phone call because we want to make you an astronaut." 13 years after that, it's May 17th, 2009, and I'm on the Space Shuttle Atlantis about to go out and do a spacewalk on the Hubble Space Telescope. And our task that day was to repair an instrument that had failed. This instrument was used by scientists to detect the atmosphere of far-off planets. Planets in our solar system could be analyzed using this spectrograph to see if we might find planets that was Earth-like or planets that could support life. And just when they got good at doing this, the power supply of this instrument failed. It blew. So the instrument could no longer be used. And there was no way really to replace this unit or to repair the instrument because when they launched this thing, they got it ready for spaceflight. They really buttoned it up. They didn't want anybody to screw with this thing. It was buttoned up with an access panel that blocked the power supply that had failed. This access panel had 117 small screws with washers, and just to play it safe, they put glue on the screw threads so they would never come apart. You know, it could withstand a space launch, and there was no way we could get it fixed to fix this thing. But we really wanted the Hubble's capability back. So we started working. And for 5 years, we designed a spacewalk. We designed over 100 new space tools to be used at great taxpayers' expense, millions of dollars. Thousands of people worked on this. And my buddy Mike Good, who we called Bruno, he and I were going to go out to do the spacewalk. And I was going to be the guy actually doing the repair. Inside was Drew Fennell, one of my best friends. He was going to read me the checklist. And we had practiced for years and years for this. They built us our own practice instrument and gave us our own set of tools so we could practice in our office, on our free time, during lunch, after work, on weekends. We became like one mind. That's the telescope. He would say it, I would do it. We had our own language. And now was the day was going to go out and do this task. The thing I was most worried about was leaving the air dock. That day was my path to the telescope because it was along the side of the space shuttle. And if you look over the edge of the shuttle, it's like looking over the cliff. with 350 miles to go down to the planet, and there was no good handrails. When we're spacewalking, we like to grab onto things with our space gloves and be nice and steady. But I got to do this one area along the side of the shuttle, and there's nothing good to grab. I had to grab a wire or a hose or a knob or a screw. And I'm kind of a big goon. And when there's no gravity, you can get a lot of momentum built up. I could go spinning off into space. I knew I had a safety tether that would probably hold, but I also had a heart that I wasn't so sure about. I knew they would get me back. I just wasn't sure what they would get back at the end of the tether when they reeled me in. So I was really concerned about this. I took my time. I got together the treacherous path and out to the telescope. The first thing I had to do was to remove the handrail from the telescope that was blocking the access panel. There was 2 screws, one on the top, and there were 2 screws on the top. They came off easily. And there was 1 screw on the bottom right that came out easily. The 4th screw is not moving. My tool is moving, but the screw is not. I look close at it's stripped, and I realize that the handrail is not coming off, which means I can't get the access panel with this 117 screws that I've been worried about for 5 years, which means I can't get the power supply that failed, which means we're not going to be able to fix this instrument today, which means all the smart scientists can't find life on other planets. And I'm to blame for this. I could see what they would be saying in the science books of the future. This is going to be my legacy. My children and my grandchildren would read in classrooms. We would know it was life on other planets, but Gabby and Daniel's dad, my children, would suffer from this. Gabby and Daniel's dad broke the Hubble telescope, and we'll never know. And though this nightmare that had just begun, I look at my buddy Bruno next to me in his spacesuit, and he was there to assist to the repair, but could not take over my role. All right, so I'm sorry they hit the thing. So that is what you're going to be reading. So that is 13.1. So you can go choose a topic, whatever you want. Go back through the passage. You can go back in the video, or you can go to the website and find your 2 parts of the passage that you're going to write. Tell me the point of view and explain that point of view. Now, I'm going to do a different video because I don't want this one to be forever long of the next part of this assignment. So I will talk to you in a little bit.